piece marching band. That's really cheap, isn't it? Okay. And I said, here's what we know, here's what we can do. I sent him 3 videos of the last 3 years, and I said, we need to get more modern, because I'm going to leave here sooner or later, and somebody else is going to come in behind me and shock these poor children, and shock my community, so we need to update. And each year, we added to the repertoire, I don't do the same thing I did. I know you don't do what you did 30 years ago. He doesn't do what he did when he started. So you have to find what works for you, and if you believe in it, and you get your kids to believe in it. I really think that's very important. You have to believe in what you're doing, and if you do it well, you can be effective. I don't care where you are doing that. On almost any level, if you do it, if you execute well, I don't care what you're doing. Do it well, and that brings me to musicality. That's why I thought it was. I had somebody a lot wiser than me, tell me that when you say marching band, never forget that marching modifies band. We're a band first, and then we march. So I used the philosophy for 33 years that we have to play with. And if I have to worry about which one I'm going to sacrifice, you can accuse me of not marching well. I can live with that. I can live with that. But I would much prefer that you come up and say, you know, your band played really well. Or you just made me a happy band director. Because that really is what we're all about. I want you to, if you go to a GPS thing where they talk about the Georgia Performance Standards, please notice that on the Georgia Performance Standards, marching band is not mentioned at all. There's not one thing in there about marching that I have found. Not one. It's all about teaching music. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. So what we need to do is make sure that whatever we teach, whatever style you do, whatever music you choose, that you play it well. And make it the primary focus of what you're doing. Back to what we were talking about simultaneous responsibilities and dividing responsibilities. And I use the same method now that he was talking about, and that is I separate the 2 responsibilities, and then I'll layer one on top of the other. And here's what I tell my kids every day. We must make this marching automatic. The muscles need to remember where to go. So you don't have to think about that, because most of us do not multitask well. Our computers may, but we don't. And I need them to focus on playing. Because if they're going to forget, because this move is so hard and they haven't learned it so that it's automatic for them, and they're going to forget the playing to get this move right, what does my band sound like? And now I'm not doing what I'm paid to do, which is teach children music. And I never want to lose sight of that. I taught my previous program, we had 8 through 12, grades 8 through 12. And I marched 58th graders every year out of 175 of this band. Every year, and 8th graders can't march complex things, they just can't. It's beyond them intellectually, and it's beyond them physically. So I made a conscious decision as a director to make sure that we were going to worry about the music. And if I went to a marching contest and it didn't do real great in marching caption, I was okay with that. It really didn't bother me. It didn't bother my kids. You must focus on what you have. Neil touched on this. I heard a great line. Y'all will love this one. Take this one out because it's a great line. Don't play them basses if you ain't got no basses. And don't play the trombone king if you don't have trombones. You know, that sounds stupid, doesn't it? But do you have any idea how many bands I've heard in my career play the Spanish show with adjunct players? Why would you think that? And every person who's judged the marching band in this room is going, oh my God, yeah. How many of you heard? Okay? You can't do that. You've got to realize what you have. I went into a very interesting situation where I had an entire set of music already written for my band to play this year. I had a whole show written, ready to go. And, you know, I had 4 trumpets. And so 3-part trumpet went out the window. Actually, 2-part trumpet went out the window. And we had to completely rewrite everything we were playing to fit my group. I've been very blessed that I had an assistant director for my 17 years at Jeff Davis, John Reed. He rewrote everything we played and knew our band like the back of his hand. So I didn't have to worry about whether or not he could make my band sound good. He knew what it sounded like. He knew what I liked, and he wrote that way for me. He rearranged everything. Okay, and somebody said, well, that's living dangerously. Well, if I was going to go to VOA, I would make sure that I get all my copyrights and all that stuff done correctly. But for most of the world, honestly, it's not that big deal as long as you don't change the intent of the composer. You have to leave that alone. But it's okay to rescore and redo things to fit your band. Don't force something on your band that they can't play. I'm mentoring a couple of young directors right now who, in their marching bands, they're playing music that is too difficult for their band to play. They can't play it sitting down. What in the world makes them think they're going to be able to play it moving down? And all the judges in the room know exactly what I'm saying. It's a real major problem because, particularly, I'm speaking to the young directors. I wish somebody told me this when I was young. Well, I was stupid. I really was. I played some things I should have never. I played what kind of fooling I was with 35 feet. Well, I answered that question. I really did. I played the bass. But anyway, you really need to be very realistic musically with your program. You really need to know what your players can play and stay within their comfort zone. You want to stretch, I recommend you stretch in the spring. I don't recommend that you try to stretch in August, because you do that, and you may have a disaster on your hands. And all of us have been there where we've gotten about, it's the second month of the season, and gone, we can't play this. And we're stuck, and I can't get rid of it. We've all been there, am I right? All the older directors in the room, yeah, man, we've all been there. I've been there recently, so you have to be very careful. Make sure that you stay within what your students can play, and make sure that whatever you play is worth playing. It's worth playing. You can play any style of music you want. I believe that firmly. I believe you don't have to play just this kind or just that kind or just that kind. You play whatever you want, but it needs to be good music. You're going to spend 3 or 4 months working on it. These kids are going to be playing this music for a long time. It needs to be something that's worthy of being played that long. And I'm not talking styles either. I'm talking about the quality of the way it's written, the demands on the musicians. And I like to go down the concert festival sheet, which we now have 5 captions instead of 7. I'll have to use that. But I like to go down that sheet with my marching band literature and make sure that I'm covering all of those things, even with my marching band literature. That I worry about tone, and I worry about intonation, and I worry about balance, and I worry about blend, and I worry about all of those wonderful musical things that we expect them to do indoors and make sure that it's happening outdoors. Put those together. And then layer it on top of marching, then you can be successful. That's my feeling.
A few things. We'll try to finish our part of the round table up, so kind of gather your questions up. We'll try to say 10 minutes at the end for the questions we have. Much like Tom said, the music has to be, in my mind, the centerpiece of your program, period. The quality of the music and the way that the musicians are trained. The sheet that you use for concert festival are probably the best place to start in terms of assessing how you are doing. Having nothing to do with competition and the things that go along with that. How are you doing? Do you ask your students to play with good tone quality? You ask them to play with good control of the sound and all that, which is part of tone quality. So you ask the students to play in tune every time you listen to them play. Although we let them play ad libitum intonation, as I call it sometimes. We ask the children to play with good balance within their